Hey there. How was your day? Wherever you are in the world, whether it's midnight and quiet or morning just beginning, I'm glad you're here. Take a moment. Let your body soften. Let your shoulders drop and your breath slow. If you're watching this in bed, with the lights low and the hum of a fan nearby, you're in the perfect place to begin. And if your eyes grow heavy along the way, that's okay. You're meant to drift. Tonight, we're going to slip into something gentle. A question older than clocks, older than calendars. One that scientists still whisper about long after their lectures end. Why does time move forward? Why can we remember yesterday but not tomorrow? Why do stars burn out and never reignite? You've probably felt it. That slow march of time. The way moments dissolve. The way a snowflake melts but never forms again in your hand. The way a broken glass stays broken. The way you grow older, not younger. But physics doesn't give easy answers. And the deeper we go, the stranger time becomes. Some theories say the past and future are equally real. Some say time is an illusion stitched together by memory. And yet, the arrow of time feels so real, doesn't it? In this story, we'll explore that arrow. Softly, quietly, through the lens of heat, memory, decay, light, and sleep. We'll drift past melting candles, rotting fruit, distant galaxies, and ancient sundials. Everywhere we look, time flows forward. But what if that's not the whole story? Before we begin, if you feel like sharing, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. You can leave a gentle comment below. Let's begin. A candle flickers softly in the dark. Its flame leans, then straightens. Leans again, then dances. Each second, the wax melts a little. Each minute, the candle grows shorter. A quiet glow, surrendering to time. Have you ever just watched it? Not with urgency, not as a light source, but as a slow unraveling. The wick blackens, the wax pools, and heat climbs upward into the room. This too is time. Not the time of ticking clocks or digital displays, but the felt time. The warm, real kind. The kind that drips. We notice it most when something fades, like steam leaving a mug, or shadows stretching across a wall, or a clock ticking, but only when we're listening. Pause here if you'd like. Let your mind picture a quiet room. Dim wooden floors. A table, a candle, and nothing else. Each tick of the wall clock folds into the hush. One tick, then another, and another, until you begin to feel them, rather than hear them. This is how humans first knew time. Not through numbers, but through change. They watched shadows move across stones. They followed the moon across weeks. They saw fruit ripen and fall. They saw wounds heal, then fade into scars. Time was never abstract. It was in the way bread went stale, in the way a child's face changed year to year, in the way fire warmed, then dimmed to ash. Thousands of years later, we still carry this feeling. Even surrounded by watches and schedules and blinking notifications, the deepest sense of time lives in our senses. We feel it in warmth fading from our skin. We feel it in the heartbeat that slows when we rest. We feel it when we see a candle burning, and somehow know deep down that it will not burn forever. Entropy is already at work. But don't worry. Entropy doesn't mean destruction. Not in a frightening way. It just means change. Gentle, inevitable change. From order to less order. From heat to coolness. From light to dusk. When you light a candle, you create contrast. You take energy stored in wax and release it into the room. Some becomes light. Some becomes heat. Some becomes smoke. None of it disappears. But it no longer fits back into the wax. It has changed form. It has become scattered. And this scattering, this spreading out of energy, is what gives us the arrow of time. You see, at the heart of time's one-way flow is this quiet law of physics. That energy tends to spread out. It's called the second law of thermodynamics, and we'll explore it deeply later. But for now, all you need to know is this. Once something melts, it doesn't unmelt. Once heat escapes, it doesn't come back perfectly. The candle cannot unburn. The flame cannot leap back into the wick. The smoke cannot return to the wax. And so we say, time has passed. But it's not time doing this. It's entropy. Time simply flows in the direction entropy increases. It's why you can remember the past, but not the future. Why we speak of moments as gone, as if they were objects left behind on a trail. Moments that changed and could not be reassembled. Even the clocks we build, those precise machines with gears or quartz or atomic oscillations, are merely reflections of deeper physical changes. A pendulum swings, a crystal vibrates, an electron shifts energy states. Behind each tick is a change, and behind each change a little loss, a little scattering, a little entropy. You might ask, but can't some things go backward? Couldn't a video of a candle reforming itself be played in reverse? Yes, in fiction, in footage, but not in nature, not in the molecules. At the smallest scales, physics seems reversible. The laws don't say which way time should go. But as soon as many particles come together, as soon as heat, disorder, and probability enter the scene, there's no turning back. A single water molecule might reverse direction, but a river does not unflow. And so we live in this one direction, forward, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when you're still in bed, barely breathing. Time is still unfolding. The wax is still melting. The clock is still ticking. The cells in your body are still shifting. Tiny machines in you are repairing damage, clearing waste, renewing structures. And one day, even the candle inside the stars, the nuclear fire that fuels suns, will burn out too. It's not something to fear. It's something to marvel at, because it means we are part of this great unfolding. We are part of the soft descent of heat, the quiet tumble from order to complexity to rest. So tonight, if you hear a clock nearby, or imagine one ticking just beyond the edge of the room, let it remind you, you are in the flow. You are being carried. You don't have to hold on to anything. The candle will burn. The clock will tick. And you can rest. There's a moment Just before sleep, when the world begins to blur, thoughts stretch, sounds lengthen, time softens. A second feels like many, or none at all. This is the mind's threshold, where the present becomes slippery. But what is the present really? That feeling of now. It's easy to imagine it like a pinprick on a timeline, a razor-thin edge dividing what just happened from what will happen next. But your brain doesn't work that way. It doesn't perceive time in perfect slices. It gathers. It weaves. Imagine this. You're watching a lightning storm. You see the flash. You hear the thunder. But they don't arrive together. Light is faster than sound. And yet, your brain waits. It holds onto the flash, just long enough to combine it with the boom. So you feel them as one. That's not illusion. That's your brain creating now. Scientists call it the temporal binding window. It's a tiny span, just a few hundred milliseconds, during which your brain stitches incoming signals together into what feels like a unified moment. Not too early, not too late, but just in time. Now imagine how often this happens. Every sound, every sight, every breath, a continuous cascade of sensory fragments, woven into the feeling of flow. The now you feel is not a point. It's a blend, a soft smear, a buffer of time, just wide enough to keep you whole. And in sleep, that buffer expands. Dreams unfold without the usual stitching. Events leap forward. Time loops. You feel hours in seconds, or watch a single moment stretch endlessly. This tells us something. The brain does not follow time. It shapes it deep inside your head, in regions like the supplementary motor area and the prefrontal cortex. There are rhythms, firing patterns, timing circuits that act like inner clocks. They don't tick like quartz. They pulse. They sync. They adjust. That's how you tap your finger to a beat. How you wait the right pause before speaking. How you sense that a moment has passed, even with no watch in sight. But they're not perfect. Your perception of time stretches when you're afraid, shrinks when you're joyful, slows down in boredom, speeds up when you're deeply focused. The more attention something gets, the longer it feels. This is why a single painful second can feel like eternity, while a week of routine vanishes in a blink. And sleep smooths it all out. During REM, the parts of your brain responsible for sequencing events, for placing them in order, become less active. So time loses its grip. You float. Scenes fold into each other. Past, present, and future drift like clouds. And yet, when you wake, you know you were asleep. You can tell hours passed. Even in stillness, your internal timekeepers were watching. Your body follows rhythms, called circadian rhythms, tied to light, hormones, and temperature. They guide when you feel tired, when your organs work, when your temperature dips. So even without clocks, your body knows. Now consider this. Every creature with a nervous system has some sense of now. A cat leaping for a toy, a bird singing at dawn, even a jellyfish pulsing in water. Somewhere inside them, there is timing, a beat, a thread holding present to past. And yet, none of them measure time like we do. They don't divide it into hours or years. They don't worry about clocks running out. They simply live in time. Maybe that's the secret. Because for all our tools, our calendars, schedules, reminders, our experience of time is still made of feeling. We sense a beginning, NG. We sense an end, and in between. We call it now, but this now isn't fixed. It's not a hard shape. It bends. It changes size. It dances to emotion, to attention, to light. So when we ask, why does time move forward? We might also ask, why does it feel like this? Because in a universe where equations can run both ways, it is our consciousness that paints the arrow. We remember past events. We imagine future ones. We can feel regret, hope, nostalgia. All of it depends on the fragile architecture of the brain. When that architecture is disrupted, as in trauma, illness, or deep sleep, time can fragment. People with certain kinds of amnesia can live entirely in the present moment. No past, no plans, just a stream of perception. Others may feel time accelerate or freeze. It shows us just how delicate this now really is. So tonight, if the world feels too fast, if hours slip through your fingers or stretch too long, come back to this moment, to the weight of your body on the bed, to the hush between words, to the breath rising and falling. This is the only now you need, the only moment that's real, and it's already yours. A child builds a tower of blocks, carefully, quietly, each shape balanced, each color stacked just so. Then one nudge, the blocks tumble, scattering, no longer a tower, now a mess. You've seen this pattern before, in a spilled glass, a dropped plate, a sandcastle crumbling with the tide. It's not just chance, it's entropy. Let's drift there now. Entropy is the quiet rule behind time's forward flow. Not loud, not cruel, just inevitable. It says, things tend toward disorder, not because the universe wants chaos, but because disorder is simply more likely. Picture a neat room, everything in place. Now toss your clothes, scatter papers, open a drawer. It doesn't take effort to create disorder, but to restore order, you need time, energy, intention. And the deeper truth is this: there are more ways for things to be messy than for them to be neat. More ways for puzzle pieces to be wrong than to be exactly right. That's entropy, not a force, not destruction, just probability, just numbers. In the 19th century, a physicist named Ludwig Boltzmann Put this into maths. He showed that systems naturally move from less probable states to more probable ones. A hot cup of tea cools in a cold room because there are more ways for molecules to spread heat evenly than to keep it huddled in one place. The tea doesn't choose. It just follows the numbers. Entropy increases, and with it, time appears to move. We notice the moments after the spill, not the ones before. We see the vase shattered, not whole and trembling, because the arrow of entropy is the arrow of memory. Think of a fire. The wood turns to ash, to smoke, to heat. The molecules don't vanish. They just scatter. But you can't reverse it. You can't take smoke, ash, and warmth, and recreate a log. Too many possible paths. Too many lost details. So time flows forward. Not because it must, but because backward is too narrow, too precise, too unlikely. Now imagine the whole universe. Every star, every breeze, every sigh from your lungs. All of it moving from ordered beginnings toward disorder. The early universe, just after the Big Bang, was small, hot, dense, but strangely low in entropy. That's the mystery, because there were fewer ways to be. So tightly packed, so smooth. From that improbable state, entropy began its journey. Galaxies formed, stars ignited, planets spun. Each step, a move toward more possible arrangements, more spreading out, more disorder. And so time began, not as a tick of a cosmic clock, but as a measure of how far entropy has climbed. It's like watching a sugar cube dissolve into tea. At first, you see the swirl. A trace of the cube remains. But soon, nothing, just sweetened water. You can't find the cube again. It's not gone, but it's everywhere now. Changed, scattered. This is why the past feels solid, and the future unknown. The past had structure, the present is blending it, and the future holds a growing ocean of possibilities. Entropy is what makes memory possible, but also what makes forgetting inevitable. Now, let's rest in that thought. Every breath you take adds a little heat to the room. Your body uses energy, converts food, spreads warmth. You are not outside entropy. You are part of its unfolding. Even in sleep, you're gently increasing disorder. Tiny heat exchanges, whispers of metabolism. But don't worry, this is not decay. It's not loss. It's life. Entropy is what allows stars to shine, what allows cells to move, what makes warmth possible in a cold universe. Without it, nothing would happen. No change, no stories, no time. So the next time you see a leaf fall, or a puddle evaporate, or a cookie crumble, know that you're witnessing the same law that carries galaxies, toward their distant futures. Entropy is quiet, constant, and kind. It doesn't take from you. It simply reminds you that everything you love is in motion, that nothing stays the same. And that's what makes every moment precious. So let it unfold. Let the blanket crease. Let the candle melt. Let the tea grow cold. Time is moving, but so are you. And tonight, as your thoughts begin to settle, as warmth spreads beneath the sheets, and the silence deepens, let entropy hold you. Like gravity, like night, imagine a drop of honey slipping from a spoon. It stretches, clings, then falls, a soft spiral in the air, a slow golden curl, until it lands with a quiet weight on the plate. You watch it settle, widen, still. You don't expect it to leap back up. It fell, and now it rests. That's the way of things. That's irreversibility. It's not just how we experience the world. It's how the universe moves. One way, forward. The science behind this flow lives in what's called the second law of thermodynamics. A quiet rule, unbreakable, universal. It says, in any closed system, the total entropy, the total disorder, tends to increase. We talked about entropy in the last segment, but now let's feel what that means. Light a match. The flame flickers, then devours the wood. Heat bursts into the air. Ash curls and falls. That match will never become whole again, because to reverse it, you'd have to find every molecule of smoke, every speck of carbon, every wisp of heat, and put them back. Exactly. Not likely. This is irreversibility. When energy flows, it spreads, and spread out energy is harder to use. It's not gone, just diluted, less concentrated. And this is why time moves in the direction it does. Because energy flows outward, not inward. Because heat moves from hot to cold, not cold to hot. Because a teacup shatters, but doesn't reform. These are not flaws. They're not mistakes. They're the universe expressing its rhythm. Even in your body, this law is always at work. You ate food. Your cells convert it. They extract usable energy called Gibbs free energy. And what's left becomes heat. That warmth leaves your skin, into the air, into the night. Each step irreversible. Each breath a tiny direction in time. We don't notice it often, but it's always there. Have you ever tried to untoast a slice of bread? Once browned, the starches have changed. Their structure altered. The heat moved in, did its work, and moved on. You can't go back. And that's the beauty of the second law. It doesn't just explain loss. It explains why anything happens at all. If energy didn't flow, if things didn't change, there'd be no stars, no warmth, no life. Irreversibility creates the future. It's what turns potential into action. What turns a seed into a tree. What turns night into morning. But there's a quiet sadness too, a kind of sweetness, because it means we only get each moment once. The match lights, then fades. The honey drops and stays. The seconds you've just lived are now woven into the past, not lost, but unrepeatable. Some physicists have tried to imagine universes where the second law doesn't hold, where time could run backward, where entropy might decrease. But in all our observations, from melting ice to supernovas, the law holds firm. It is not a rule made by people. It is not like gravity, which can be resisted by pushing upward. No, it is deeper, a statistical truth, a pattern written into the maths of all motion. And it's not just in the big things. Your memories, they rely on irreversibility. To remember something, your brain changes. It carves traces, forms new links between neurons. These changes take energy. They're not undone. That's why remembering creates a past, why forgetting leaves it behind. Even thought has a direction. Now close your eyes if they're not already closed, and imagine heat, not the kind that burns, the kind that lingers, the warmth left in a sweater, the last breath inside a cup. This is how time leaves fingerprints, faint, fleeting, but real. And once they fade, they do not return. So if you ever find yourself wishing you could go back, rewind time, change something, relive a perfect day, know this: the universe doesn't go back, but it does remember. In echoes, in imprints, in entropy. Even as moments pass, they leave patterns. The warmth in your sheets, the curve of a smile, the hush in your chest, as sleep begins to fold around you. These are the gifts of one-way time. Zovd, irreversible. Yours. A hand reaches for a spoon. A cup waits. Steam curls gently upward, carrying warmth into the morning air. The hand stirs. Dark coffee begins to swirl. Then a slow pour of cream. Pale, cool, quiet. It threads into the darkness, first as a ribbon, then a cloud, then a bloom. The cream curls, spins, vanishes into the swirl. And just like that, a new color is born. No longer black, not yet white, something in between. The coffee has changed. And now try to take the cream back out. You see, and not because it's gone, but because it has become everywhere. That's the physics of mixing. That's irreversibility made visible. One of the most beautiful examples of entropy is right there, in your morning cup. Let's drift into that. When you pour cream into coffee, you're not adding chaos. You're adding contrast. Two systems different in temperature, different in density, different in composition, are meeting. And physics does what it always does. It balances. It spreads. It smooths. The molecules move faster, collide, transfer heat, distribute flavor, equalize color. Each motion, each tiny jostle, guided by probability. There are trillions of possible ways for cream molecules to arrange themselves through the coffee, but only one way to keep them perfectly separate. And the odds of reversing that swirl are vanishingly small. You would need to rewind every particle along the exact path it came, a dance so intricate that even the universe doesn't bother. The coffee has chosen, and in that choice, in that blending, time has passed. It's quiet, isn't it? The way things combine, the way ingredients lose their names to become something new. Bread becomes toast, oxygen becomes breath, cream becomes memory, and the arrow of time is etched into the whirlpool. Now close your eyes, or soften your gaze, and picture it again. The swirl, the slow-motion ballet of dark and light, meeting, folding, vanishing into one another. The spoon stirs, then stops, but the dance continues. Even when still, the molecules move. Their energy wants to spread, wants to occupy every space it can. This isn't chaos, it's balance. The universe seeks what physicists call maximum entropy, a state where everything is mixed, settled, evened out. And when that happens, when no more energy differences remain, things grow quiet, still, final. This is why you can't unmix coffee, why you can't untoast bread, why you can't gather perfume from a room and put it back in the bottle. Because to do so would mean lowering entropy, making the system less spread out, less probable. It would mean swimming upstream in a river made of time. Now let's take a breath. Feel the air enter, then leave. Even this breath is a mixture. Oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide. Drawn in, stirred through blood, exhaled into the room. Nothing lost, everything transformed. Even in sleep, your body continues to mix, to spread, to stir warmth into the sheets, to exchange air with the dark room around you. You are part of the coffee, part of the swirl, always changing, always irreversible. And yet, there's beauty in it, not just because it's true, but because it's tender. Time's arrow isn't cruel. It's quiet. It doesn't yank. It glides. It takes what was and softly turns it into what is. A memory becomes a thought. A thought becomes a breath becomes silence, and none of it can go back. But maybe that's okay. Because in this direction, in this one-way flow, we find meaning. A kiss only happens once. A word once spoken can't be unspoken, but the echo remains. So too does the cream. Not where it started, but somewhere richer. And when you sip it, you don't long for separation. You taste the harmony. So tonight, if your thoughts feel like swirls, If your mind is mixing moments and memories and half-sleep dreams, let it. Let everything blend. Let time pass. There's no need to unmix. There's only the warmth of the cup, the hush in the room, and the gentle sound of things becoming something new. There's a photo on your shelf. Maybe it's curled at the edges, faded slightly, the colors not quite as sharp as they once were. But when you look at it, something stirs. Not just the image, not just the face. A moment returns. A scent, maybe. The air that day. A laugh you hadn't thought of in years. That's memory. It pulls the past into the present. A soft thread, woven from silence. But why do we remember the past and never the future? Why are our minds shaped to look backward, but not ahead? Let's drift toward that question now. The arrow of time isn't just a rule in physics. It's in your mind, in the structure of memory, in the way your brain builds experience. Each moment you live leaves a mark, tiny chemical changes, shifts in the shape of neurons, new connections between cells. These marks are irreversible. Once made, they form the record of you. Your first word, your last mistake, the people you've lost, the places you've loved, all stored in fragments, in echoes, in quiet sparks of protein and electricity. But here's the thing. Your brain can only make memories of what has already happened, because memory isn't passive. It's a physical act. It takes energy, time, attention. It's a biological investment into the past to form a memory. Your brain goes through a process called consolidation. First, it notices something. Then it stores it briefly. A flicker in the hippocampus. ND if it matters. If it's repeated, emotional, meaningful, it's etched deeper into long-term storage. Each memory is a footprint. Each footprint is a step behind you. This is why we can't remember tomorrow, because it hasn't left a mark yet. The future exists, perhaps, but not for your mind. Not until you meet it. Now close your eyes, if they're not already closed. Think of a warm evening, years ago. A slow walk, a voice beside you. Maybe it was raining. Maybe something ended. That memory, right now, is being replayed by your brain, reassembled from fragments, a soft hallucination of something real. But it only works in one direction. There's no photograph from next year, no memory from a day that hasn't arrived. Even your dreams, as strange as they are built from pieces of what you already know. The future remains silent. And this directionality, this backward-facing mirror, is deeply tied to entropy. As entropy increases, the past leaves traces. The future does not. You can see ashes and know there was once fire. but from ashes alone. You cannot imagine the exact flame. Your brain is not fighting this. It's shaped by it. In fact, some neuroscientists believe that memory evolved because of time's arrow, to help organisms navigate a changing world, to learn from what came before, and survive what comes next. Memory gave us story, gave us identity, gave us history, but it also gave us loss. Because when time flows forward and memory looks back, we become aware of what we cannot return to. A child's voice, no longer heard. A place that's gone. A season that will never come again. This awareness can hurt, but it also comforts, because it lets us hold on to what would otherwise vanish. A moment can pass and yet remain in you. And sometimes memory isn't even accurate. It isn't a tape recorder. It's a painter, a quiet storyteller with a soft brush. Your memories change over time. Colors shift, details blur. Sometimes you even add things that weren't there. But that's okay, because memory isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be human, a way to anchor, a way to say, I was here, I felt that, it mattered. Now let's pause. Together, let your breath settle. Let your muscles soften. Let your own memories rise. Like smoke from a candle. Let them flicker. Let them fade. You don't have to chase them. They know the way back. And as you drift, know this: you are a collection of one-way windows, each one facing a sunset, each one filled with light that cannot return, but it shines in you still. And as long as you remember, you carry time forward. Picture an egg, smooth, unbroken, resting in the center of a wooden table. It sits in quiet stillness, the shell holding its secret, a tiny world of structure and possibility. And then it slips, just a little, a clumsy nudge, a brush of a sleeve, a careless elbow in the morning haze. The egg falls, and time holds its breath. There's a pause, the weightless hush before gravity acts. And then the crack. Shell shatters, yolk spills. The egg is no more. You blink, you sigh, you reach for a towel, but you never expect it to uncrack. You don't wait for the yolk to leap back into its shell, for shards to knit together, for the smooth white surface to reappear. You clean it up. You move on, because some things, once changed, stay changed. Let's drift there now. This egg is more than breakfast. It's a perfect metaphor for how entropy unfolds. The moment it breaks, it enters a state with many more possible arrangements, more disorder, more entropy. Before it cracked, the egg was ordered. One way for all the molecules to be. Fragile, yes, but whole. After it cracks, there are countless ways for the mess to lie. A million arrangements of yolk and shell, spilled across the grain of the table. The math favors disorder. And to reverse it, to reassemble every calcium fragment, every droplet of yolk, every stretched out strand of albumin, you'd need precision beyond the power of the universe. Not because it's forbidden, but because it's wildly improbable. So time moves forward, and the egg stays broken. This isn't just poetry, it's physics. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that in a closed system, entropy tends to increase. In other words, things fall apart more easily than they come together. Order is rare, delicate, temporary, but disorder, it's what everything leans toward. This is why shattered vases don't jump back together. Why smoke doesn't crawl back into the match. Why a melted candle doesn't reform and light itself again. And the egg, it's no different. Even if you gathered the pieces, glued the shell, reshaped the yolk, you'd never get back what was lost. Not truly, because entropy has already risen. The crack let energy escape. Heat from the fall, sound from the shatter, tiny bits of matter scattering too small to find. The system changed, and once that happens, there's no going back. But here's something gentle to consider. This breaking, this rise in entropy, is not a failure. It's how the universe breathes. Without entropy, nothing would ever happen. No eggs would fall. But also, no eggs would cook. No stars would shine. No life would begin. The same laws that stop an egg from uncracking also allow it to become an omelette, a jig, a symbol, a memory. Entropy is not just the reason we age. It's the reason we grow. It gives time its shape, its rhythm, its meaning. So tonight, as your thoughts quiet and your body softens beneath the covers, remember the egg, not in frustration, not in regret, but in awe. Because in that small, irreversible fall is the story of everything. The galaxies, too, once whole and bright, are scattering. The stars will break. The elements will drift. The night sky will change. And that's okay. Because what remains is transformation. What remains is the beauty of what once was whole, becoming something else. The egg falls. The yolk shines on the table. You clean it gently. And perhaps you smile, because even this is part of time, part of being, part of the long, slow unraveling that cradles all things, from stars to shells to you, long before equations, long before entropy, before clocks and calendars and digital minutes. People looked at the sky and wondered, what is time? Where does it go? And why does it move at all? Tonight, let's drift through their answers. Ancient ones, whispered ones, woven from firelight and stars. In ancient Greece, time had two names: Chronos, the measured, ticking kind, the god of clocks, of aging, of endings. But there was another name. Kairos, the deep moment, the ripeness, a pause outside the line. To the Greeks, time was not just a stream. It was a rhythm, a breath, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Chronos carried the scythe. Kairos carried wings on his feet. Both were real, and both were right. Now let's drift farther east. In ancient Hindu philosophy, time wasn't a line. It was a circle, vast, endless, turning slowly like a wheel, through cycles of creation, preservation, and dissolution. The yugas, they called them, ages of the world. Each yuga lasted thousands of years, from the golden age of truth to the dark age of forgetting. But none of it was final. No fall was forever. When one age ended, another began, over and over. Time as rebirth, not a march, but a dance, a fire that never goes out, only changes form. And in that vision, there is no true past, no fixed future, only patterns, echoes, turning. Now breathe with that. Let the idea of circular time rest beside your heartbeat. One beat follows another, yet loops again. We move forward, but in spirals, always returning to something familiar. Let's move west again, to Egypt, to the desert sun, to the slow river of the Nile. The Egyptians saw time as a procession, a sacred repetition. The sun died each night and was reborn each dawn. Ra, the sun god, sailed through the underworld in his golden boat, fighting chaos, bringing light back to the world. Day after day, this cycle repeated. Not a countdown, not decay, but renewal. Time was a loop that anchored the world. Even the pharaohs joined the cycle in death, not gone, but transformed, wrapped in linen, carried to the stars, awaiting the return. For them, time was eternal and always beginning again. And maybe you felt this too. In the seasons, the tides, the way autumn always returns. No matter how far you drift from it, not everything moves in a straight line. Not everything ends. In Chinese philosophy, there was no need to conquer time. Instead, the goal was to flow with it. Like water, like wind, like breath. Tao, the way, was not a destination. It was the movement itself. To follow time was to move in harmony. To resist it was to suffer. So there were no clocks, only the moons, the harvest, the rhythm of sleep and waking, of growing and fading. Time wasn't owned. It was borrowed, shared, and in many indigenous cultures, time was not divided. There was no past and no future, only the stories that continued, passed from elder to child, from fire circle to dream. Events were remembered, but not dated. Moments were sacred because of their meaning, not their placement. And perhaps this brings us closer to sleep, because in your dreams, you may walk into memory, but not know when. You may see the face of someone gone and not know how long it's been. You may enter a place that doesn't belong to any clock, and still it feels real, because time, at its softest, is a feeling, not a rule. So tonight, as you lie in the hush between minutes and dreams, consider this. Perhaps time does not always move forward. Perhaps it turns like a wheel, or sways like a branch in wind, or flows like ink in water. Perhaps we don't move through time. Perhaps time moves through us. And in the quiet, when the sky outside darkens and your breath ohms slower, you may feel what the ancients knew. That time is not only a ticking thing, it is a living thing, a rhythm, a breath, a mystery. Close your eyes, if they're not closed already. Feel the weight of your body, the way it presses softly into the bed, the stillness around you, the hush beneath the hum. Now, imagine a thread, not made of string, but of time. It stretches behind you to your first word, your first fall, your first wonder, and it stretches ahead to places not yet seen, to things not yet felt. For much of history, we saw time as this, a line. But in the early 20th century, a quiet thinker changed everything. His name was Albert Einstein. He had wild hair, tired eyes, and a habit of dreaming while awake. And one day, he dreamed about light. He imagined what it would feel like to chase a beam of it, to ride it, to become it. From that thought, he built a new vision of the universe, one where time was not separate from space, but part of it. Let's drift into that vision now. In Einstein's world, time is not a river. It is a dimension, like width, like height, like depth. He called it space-time, a single, unified fabric that bends, stretches, curves in response to mass and energy. Imagine laying a heavy ball on a stretched sheet. The sheet dips. Now roll a marble nearby. It curves inward, not because it was pulled, but because the surface itself bent. This, Einstein said, is gravity, and it affects not just space, but time. Time slows near heavy things. Stars, planets, black holes. This isn't theory. It's measured. Astronauts age more slowly. In orbit, GPS satellites must adjust their clocks because time ticks differently. Above Earth's surface, even standing on a mountain makes you a few billionths of a second faster than someone at sea level, because gravity is time's sculptor. It stretches the seconds, warps the flow, not in ways we feel, but in ways that are real. So now, imagine this. You are not moving through time. You are moving within it. Every moment you've lived is still part of space-time, not erased, not lost, just elsewhere on the map. In Einstein's vision, past, present, and future all exist like rooms in a vast mansion. You can only be in one at a time, but the others are still there, waiting, silent. This is called the block universe, a place where time doesn't pass, but simply is. A whole cosmos, laid out in full, with every sunrise, every breath, every tear, already etched into the fabric of what exists. It's a strange thought, but it fits the math. And maybe it fits the way we dream. Have you ever had a dream where past and present overlapped, where time folded like paper, and you stood in two memories at once? Maybe your mind was touching the edges of this space-time structure, feeling what it cannot fully know. Einstein's idea is not about magic. It's about structure, a recognition that time is not a ticking metronome outside of space, but a coordinate within it. And if time is a dimension, then perhaps there is no single now, no universal present, just moments arranged like notes on a page, like stars in the dark. And you are the melody. Now take a breath. Let this idea settle, like dust on a window pane. Don't worry about understanding all the physics. Just feel the shape of it. Time as space, moments as places, you as a traveler, riding curves you cannot see. This doesn't erase the arrow of time, but it softens it. It says, even if we cannot return, the places we've been are still there, still real, still part of the pattern. Maybe this is why memories feel so vivid, as if your mind is returning to an actual place. Maybe it is. So tonight, as you lie still, know that somewhere in the fabric of space-time, your first laugh still echoes, your favorite evening still lingers, your smallest kindness still glows like a lantern in a darkened corridor of the cosmos. And ahead, moments waiting, already formed, already part of you. Time moves forward, but in Einstein's universe, nothing is truly gone, just distant, just hidden, just curved beyond the bend. Imagine walking down a hallway, the kind you might find in a quiet museum, dimly lit, echoes soft underfoot. Paintings line the walls. Each painting captures a single moment, a frozen breath of time. Your first snowfall, the day you said goodbye, a stranger's smile that stayed with you, moments stitched in light and shadow. You walk past them, one after another, but they don't vanish behind you. They remain on the walls, still, quiet, present. This is one way to imagine the block universe. Let's wander there now. The block universe isn't a place. It's an idea, one born from Einstein's theories and stretched gently by philosophers and physicists alike. It says, all moments in time exist together, already, always, not just the ones behind you, but the ones ahead too. Your birth, your first dream, your final breath, all part of the same scent. Rupture, laid out like scenes in a film. Already filmed, already complete. But you only see one frame at a time. In this view, time doesn't flow. There's no river, no forward push. Instead, there is the illusion of movement, created by consciousness. Your mind is like a light, moving across a still painting, illuminating one moment, then the next. But the painting was always whole. To many, this idea feels strange, even unsettling, because we are taught to believe in free will, in choices, in blank futures waiting to be written. But the block universe whispers something softer, that nothing is truly lost, that every moment has a place. The hug you gave, the step you regret, the sunrise that stopped your breath, they still exist, held in space-time, unfolding forever, even if you're no longer there to see them. This doesn't mean you're a puppet. It means you are part of a pattern, a luminous thread, woven into the fabric of being. Now close your eyes and picture the universe, not as a line, but as a tapestry. Each strand, a moment, each knot, a connection, and you, a weaver and a witness. When physicists speak of the block universe, they speak in quiet tones, because it asks hard questions. If the future is already there, why do we not remember it? Why do we feel time moving? And the answer, maybe, is that our minds are built to survive in a particular direction, from less entropy to more, from cold to warmth, from order to bloom. And so we only perceive one slice of space-time at a time. But just as the past seems real when we recall it, so too might the future be real when it meets us. And this opens a door, a soft one, not of prediction, but of presence. Because if all moments are equally real, then this one, this breath, this stillness is sacred. It is not rushing away. It is not slipping through your fingers. It simply is. And you are in it, like a page in a book, surrounded by others you haven't read yet. Now imagine every moment of your life as a room. You cannot stand in all rooms at once, but each one remains, waiting, holding its shape. Some are bright, some dim, some echo with laughter, some with silence, but all are yours. This is the peace of the block universe. It doesn't erase sorrow. It doesn't freeze joy. It simply tells you, nothing is truly gone. Not your first word, Not the last time you saw the sea. Not the final time someone said your name. With softness. And tonight, as you lie still, between memory and dream, you are not drifting away. You are drifting through, a traveler of light, through a cosmos of time, a visitor, passing quietly from one room to the next. No need to hurry, no need to worry. Every step is held, every breath recorded, every heartbeat written into the quiet archive of all that is. So sleep, if you wish. Let your mind walk backwards, or forward, or nowhere at all. Because in this great soft tapestry of moments, you are already home. You're running, but the ground feels soft, like sponge or mist. You reach a door. It opens before you touch it. Inside your childhood kitchen. But the colors are wrong. The light comes from the floor. There's music, but it's underwater. You know it's a dream, and yet you don't. Because dreams don't follow clocks. Time bends in sleep. It folds, loops, stretches, vanishes. Let's drift into that now. You fall asleep, and moments later, you're living an entire story. A decade in 5 seconds. A conversation in an eye blink. A city built and destroyed before dawn. Then you wake, and time returns. But where did it go while you slept? Sleep breaks the usual rules. The brain's rhythm changes. Your sense of space dissolves. And time, as you know it, becomes something else entirely. Scientists have studied this. During REM sleep, the phase when most dreaming happens, your brain is wildly active, but not like it is when you're awake. The logical parts, like the prefrontal cortex, quiet down. The planning, organizing, linear thinking parts, the ones that keep track of time. Meanwhile, emotion and memory centers light up. The result, a world where feelings drive the story, where sequence slips, where cause and effect don't need to match. You might fly before you learn to walk. Meet someone who died years ago and not question it. Time in dreams is not a river. It's a fog, thick, weightless, without direction. In some dreams, you move in slow motion. A single step takes minutes. A sentence unravels word by word, like molasses. In others, you leap through scenes, like flipping pages. No transitions, no explanations. And sometimes, you dream the same thing again and again. Not exactly the same, but close, as if time in dreams moves in circles, looping, repeating, familiar. This has been studied too. It's called dream time distortion. People consistently report that dreams feel longer than the time that passes. You sleep for 10 minutes, but feel like hours have gone by. And sometimes it's the reverse. A long night of dreaming shrinks to a single blinking moment in memory. Why? Because dream time isn't bound by physics. It's bound by perception, emotion, imagination. There's no sun in a dream to mark the day. No ticking clock, no calendar, only the pace of thought, the shape of feeling. You can live an entire life in a single dream. Grow old, fall in love, lose something, begin again. And when you wake, it vanishes, but something lingers. A trace, a tone, an echo of a time that never was. Maybe that's the soft truth here. That time, even when imagined, still leaves footprints. Even if no seconds passed, your heart beat faster, your neurons fired. You felt it, and feeling, in many ways, is time. Because what is a moment, except a sensation, held just long enough to remember? Now think of this. In dreams, you are unbound. You are not aging, not counting, not racing the clock. You're simply moving through a world that answers to something older than time itself. You are in a state where time becomes symbolic, circular, layered. You meet your younger self. You glimpse a place that doesn't exist, but feels ancient. You witness endings before beginnings, and all of it feels so deeply real in the moment, even though your eyes are closed, even though the room hasn't changed, even though you haven't moved. Time in dreams is both infinite and nothing. It teaches us that our sense of time is not tied to clocks, but to consciousness. And when consciousness shifts, so does time. So what does this mean for the waking world? Maybe it reminds us not to trust the ticking hands too much, to know that time can feel slower when we pause, and faster when we forget to breathe. Maybe it tells us that some moments can stretch forever. A kiss, a goodbye, a sudden rain on a warm street. Maybe it means that sleep is not a break from time, but a different kind of journey through it. A journey without maps, without roads, just mist and memory and moonlight. Tonight, as you slip into dreams, let go of the clock. Let your thoughts drift. Let time loosen. You don't need to go anywhere or do anything. You are already there, already inside a world where seconds don't matter. Only softness does. Only wonder. Time in dreams is yours. Let's go smaller now. Not to years, not to days, not even to moments. Let's shrink all the way down to the smallest things we know. Atoms, particles, the hidden dancers beneath everything you touch. There in that microscopic world, something strange begins to happen. Time behaves differently. Let's drift into that. You may remember the second law of thermodynamics, that entropy always increases, that broken cups don't unbreak, that cream does unmix. But down here, among molecules and electrons, the rules are softer, more flexible, more symmetrical. At the atomic level, the laws of physics don't seem to care if time moves forward or backward. An electron orbiting a nucleus would follow the same path in either direction. If you filmed it and reversed the footage, it would look the same. This is called microscopic reversibility. The idea that the fundamental equations, which govern particles, like Newton's laws or the Schrödinger equation in quantum mechanics, are time-symmetric. They work both ways. But wait, didn't we just say time flows forward? Isn't that how the universe works? Yes, but only when you look at many particles, at crowds, at systems with heat and friction and randomness. Because while an individual atom might go either way, groups of atoms tend to spread out. They get messy. They lose track of their paths. Entropy takes over. So even though time symmetry exists in the micro world, we don't see it in ours. Here's an image to hold. Imagine a single droplet of dye in a still glass of water. At first, you could trace the motion of its molecules, but as it disperses, as thousands become millions, you lose that clarity. The pattern fades. It blends. And if you reversed it, if you tried to rewind all those particles back into the original drop, mathematically possible, but practically impossible. Too much chaos, too many chances. That's the divide. On the quantum level, time can move either way. But on the human level, the level of cups, dreams, and memories, it moves one way. Still, the idea that reversibility exists at the tiniest scales is deeply beautiful, because it suggests that time's direction is not hard-coded into the laws of nature. It emerges from complexity, from probability, from the choices of countless particles, bumping and spinning through silence. Now think of this. You, right now, are made of atoms, and they don't know time. But together, in your brain, your skin, your bones, they create a life that flows forward, that remembers yesterday, but not tomorrow, that hopes, that ages, that dreams. So perhaps the arrow of time is not a rule, but a whisper, a soft tendency, written by chance, magnified by number. And chance is everywhere. Quantum mechanics tells us that at the smallest scale, particles don't move predictably. They move by probability. They exist, not in one place, but in many, a cloud of possibilities, until they're observed. And in that cloud, past and future are not so different. This leads to strange questions. Could time run backward in a quantum system? Could cause follow effect? Could the future influence the past? Some physicists say yes. In theory, they've proposed retrocausality, the idea that what we choose to observe might ripple backward, changing what happened before. But this remains a soft mystery, no proof, only suggestion. And perhaps that's enough, because it reminds us that time is not as rigid as we think. It has cracks, edges, secrets, and the universe doesn't always agree on which direction it should flow. Now take a breath, let it in, then let it go. That too is a kind of reversibility. Air leaves your lungs, and somewhere a plant breathes it in. Cycles within cycles. At the level of life, time moves forward. But underneath, at the level of atoms, it simply dances. Forward, backward, neither, both. So tonight, as you rest, know this: you are made of things that do not age. Hydrogen atoms in your body were forged in stars billions of years ago. They have no memory of before or after. And yet here you are, remembering, loving, changing. You are a miracle of direction, a wave of symmetry, shaped into meaning. Let that settle. Let it glow behind your eyes. Let time loosen, just a little, because in the smallest spaces, everything is still possible. Imagine a tree in winter, tall, still, skeletal. Its leaves have fallen. Its branches are bare. Snow rests on every limb like breath held in silence. But something is happening. Not loud, not fast, just happening. Even now, beneath the frozen bark, within the quiet soil, entropy is at work. Let's walk slowly into nature now and listen for time, not in clocks, but in crumbling, in melting, in soft return. Entropy at its heart is the movement from order to disorder. But nature doesn't resist that. She folds it into her rhythm. A leaf grows from a bud. Order. Cells dividing, stretching toward the sun. Then autumn comes. The leaf dries. The color drains. It falls. And as it lies on the forest floor, its structure begins to fade. Molecules loosen. Fungi arrive. Moisture seeps in. What was once a perfect lattice of life becomes fragments, becomes soil, becomes food for the next season. Entropy, not as destruction, but as transformation. Now picture ice, a frozen pond, smooth as glass. You can see the sky reflected, trees upside down. It feels timeless, but even stillness dissolves. The sun returns, a few degrees warmer. Molecules begin to shake. Boundaries weaken. The ice thins, cracks, drips, and soon, what held shape becomes water again. Entropy doesn't rush. It just waits. All things warm. All things blur. All things melt. Now the ashes. A campfire hours ago. It roared. It snapped. It gave warmth to cold hands. Now it's just soft gray powder, still warm at the core, but no longer fire. The logs are gone. The sparks are gone. What remains is residue. The molecules that danced brightly have drifted into the air. Some rose into the sky. Some settled into the earth. Some entered your lungs as you slept nearby. That's the truth of nature's entropy. It never really ends. It only moves. From tree to soil. From ice to water. From fire to air. And each step, each small shift, writes time into the world. Now pause. Breathe in. Hold it. Let it go. That was time too. Inside your body, food is broken down. Blood is warmed. Heat escapes into the air. You are part of the same pattern. But here's what makes nature gentle. She accepts entropy without regret. A tree doesn't grieve its fallen leaves. A river doesn't mourn its melted ice. The wind doesn't hold on to the ash. All things pass, and all things become. Entropy isn't a thief. It's a cycle. The fallen tree becomes moss. The broken stone becomes sand. Even bones, given time, return to the soil they came from. There's peace in that. Softness, a kind of mercy. Because if things didn't fall apart, they could never change. Never feed the next life. Never make space for new shapes. Entropy makes room. And time is how we feel that room widening. Now listen, not with your ears, but with your attention. Can you sense the quiet around you? The still air? Maybe a fan? Maybe the distant hum of night? That stillness is filled with movement. Molecules drifting. Heat escaping. Light fading. Entropy isn't loud, but it is always there. Moving every life, every wave, every breath, in one direction. Forward. Let's visit one last image together. A field after harvest. The stalks are cut. The wind moves gently through them. There are seeds in the soil, tiny ones asleep. Everything looks empty, but nothing is gone. The energy has shifted. The forms have changed. What was upright and green is now folded into earth, ready for spring. And in that field, as frost begins to settle, time leaves its softest trace, not in hours, not in days, but in decomposition, in rest, in the promise of return. So tonight, if you feel like something in your life has fallen, has melted, has burned away, remember this: nature does not cling to shapes. She trusts in entropy. She lets go, again and again, and still, she grows back. So let yourself fall into the same rhythm, the same one that turns leaves to soil, ice to river, ash to memory. You are not breaking. You are becoming. Let's float higher now, beyond the trees, beyond the ash, beyond the quiet ponds of Earth, up into the stars, past the moon's cold light, past Jupiter's storms, past the hum of our galaxy's spiral, until we reach the beginning, the soft beginning, the birth of time itself. We call it the Big Bang, not because it was loud, but because it was the first moment, the first expansion, the first unfolding. And here lies a question, so delicate, so quietly strange, that even physicists whisper it, like a riddle. Why did the universe begin with such low entropy? Let's drift gently into that. When we think of the Big Bang, we imagine chaos, heat, energy, explosions of light. But mathematically, the early universe was ordered, tightly packed, uniform, smooth, like a calm, glowing mist. The temperature was high, yes, but the entropy, the disorder, was incredibly low. There were fewer ways for matter to be arranged, fewer irregularities. Everything was condensed, simple, balanced. This is strange, because low entropy is rare. It's special. It's like finding all the cards in a deck, already sorted, not shuffled, not scattered, but perfect. And from that perfection, everything else began. Galaxies formed, stars lit up, atoms clumped, planets cooled. Entropy began to rise, and it hasn't stopped since. That increase, from a calm, smooth beginning to the swirling, rich complexity of now, is what creates time's arrow. It's why we remember the past and not the future, because we started at the bottom of the hill, and now we're rolling gently down. But why was the hill there? Why didn't the universe start in chaos? No one truly knows. Some say it's a coincidence, a statistical fluke, a lucky roll of the cosmic dice. Others think it's a law we haven't found yet, a principle deeper than entropy itself, one that shaped the starting point before time even existed. And some whisper that maybe the universe didn't start once, maybe it starts again and again, endless cycles, each one beginning with low entropy, for reasons we cannot yet see. Whatever the cause, that initial order made everything else possible. Without it, there would be no direction, no increase in entropy, no difference between past and future, no you, no now. So tonight, as your body softens, as your mind quiets, think of that smooth beginning, a universe so young it hadn't learned how to forget, a universe holding its breath, waiting to become complex, waiting to become this. The background radiation we still hear today, that soft echo in the sky, is a lullaby from that time, a warm whisper from when everything was close together. The light from then is still traveling, still bathing us, still reminding us that time began not with a scream, but with a sigh, Entropy was low, and then it rose, and it's still rising. Each moment, each thought, each breath is part of that climb. You are not outside of it. You are woven into the rise. You are one of its textures, one of its turning points, a structure built in a universe that began in stillness. And here's something quiet to hold. That low entropy beginning wasn't just a starting line. It was a gift, because from simplicity came complexity. From smoothness came galaxies. From silence came music. And from that early moment, carried gently forward by time's arrow, came you. So rest easy. You are part of the order, part of the unfolding, part of the question and the answer. Time flows forward because it remembers where it began. And you are drifting within that memory now. Imagine standing at the edge of a great silence, a place where light bends, where time forgets how to move, where space folds inward, like a closing eye. You are standing before a black hole, not falling, not frightened, just watching. Let's drift there now. A black hole is not a thing. It is a place, a region of space where gravity has become so strong, so dense, that nothing, not even light, can escape. And with that gravity comes something else, a distortion, a soft warping of time itself. The closer you move toward the black hole, the slower time passes for you, compared to someone far away. This isn't science fiction. It's Einstein's general relativity. He showed that gravity isn't just a force. It's the shape of space. And wherever space bends, time bends too. Now picture this. You are drifting gently toward the event horizon, the boundary beyond which nothing returns. To someone watching from far away, you would appear to slow down. Your motions would stretch. Your fall would never quite finish. You would freeze on the edge of disappearance, a silhouette caught in twilight. But to you, time would feel normal. Your thoughts would flow. Your heart would beat. You would cross the threshold without pause. That's the paradox. Time slows down. For you, only to them. Relativity means there is no single clock in the universe, only many clocks, each ticking at their own rhythm. In the deep gravity of a black hole, the tick of time becomes soft, long, drawn out like honey. This has been measured. Even small differences in gravity change how time flows. Astronauts age more slowly than people on Earth, not by much, but measurably. So imagine what a black hole does to time. It stretches it like string at the center, where density becomes infinite. Time may stop altogether. A place called the singularity, not because it's sharp, but because it's undefined. We do not know what time means there. We cannot see in, We can only imagine. And what a gentle imagination it can be. Perhaps inside, everything is still. Perhaps all events happen at once. Perhaps it is a mirror of the universe, but running backwards. Some physicists even wonder if black holes connect to other universes. A tunnel, a bridge, a passage through the folds of spacetime. But these are dreams, wrapped in equations. What we know for sure is that black holes remind us of time's vulnerability. It can bend, slow, warp. It is not absolute. It is not rigid. It is soft, shaped by gravity, like clay on a wheel. Now breathe slowly, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let time slow around you, just for a moment. You don't need to fall into a black hole to feel time stretch. It happens when you're in love, or in grief, or in silence. It happens when you lie still, watching light move across a ceiling. When 1 minute feels like 10, or 10 years vanish like mist. Your brain is your own black hole. It bends time from the inside, and yet you are part of the larger field. The Earth spins, the moon pulls, the galaxy hums, and gravity stretches time everywhere. But black holes are the deepest stretch, the edge of knowability, and they're not rare. There are millions, billions, at the center of most galaxies, including ours. There's a supermassive black hole, invisible, but anchoring, holding stars in orbit, holding the dance. Without them, galaxies wouldn't swirl. The cosmos would drift apart. So, in a strange way, these time-bending shadows give structure to the universe. Even as they dissolve it, they remind us that time can twist, that it can stall, that its flow is not steady. And yet, we still feel it. A black hole may stop time, but we keep moving. So tonight, as you drift into your own event horizon, the edge of sleep, know that time is not a straight line. It bends with you. It moves at your pace. It softens when you soften. Let your thoughts spiral inward. Let them fold. Let them dissolve. You are not vanishing. You are resting in the curved geometry of dreams. Some days feel long. Others vanish in a blink. An hour waiting in lines can feel eternal. But a favorite memory, a whole summer maybe, fits inside a single smile. Why is that? Why does time stretch, shrink, skip, or stall? In your mind. Tonight we drift not through galaxies, but through perception, through the mind's quiet clock. Let's begin there. You were born without a calendar, without a wristwatch, without even the idea of soon. And yet, even as a child, you could feel time, the gap between cause and effect, the rhythm of footsteps, the slowness of waiting for a birthday. Because time, for the human brain, isn't just measured, it's felt. And feelings don't tick in seconds. Let's go deeper. Your brain has many clocks, none of them mechanical, none of them perfect. There are fast ones in the cerebellum that track milliseconds for blinking, for catching, for dancing to a beat. There are slower ones in the prefrontal cortex that judge minutes, hours, days, for planning, remembering, dreaming. And there are even longer ones woven into your biology, the circadian rhythms that stretch over 24 hours, telling your body when to sleep, when to rise, when to grow tired, in the arms of night. But none of these clocks tick like a machine. They pulse, they loop, they guess, and most of all, they change with you. Time speeds up when you're focused, when you're busy, when you're in a flow. You forget to look at the clock because you're inside the moment. Time melts, but in boredom, time thickens. It grows slow and heavy. Each second knocks like a drip from a leaky faucet. Loud, lonely, emotio, shapes time too. Fear slows it down. Have you ever been in danger or witnessed something intense? People often say, it felt like everything moved in slow motion. That's not a myth. Your brain, in high alert, records more detail, more frames. So when you look back, the moment feels longer. Grief does something else. It tangles time. The days blur. Mornings and evenings lose shape. Some memories sharpen. Others vanish. Time in sorrow refuses to follow rules. And joy, it's quick, effortless. Time flies, we say, when you're having fun. But really, you just stop measuring. Your inner clock goes quiet to let experience take over. Memory plays its part too. Your brain doesn't record life like a video. It keeps highlights, snapshots, smells, songs. The richer the moment, the deeper the trace, the more details you remember, the longer it feels in hindsight. This is why childhood feels longer than adulthood. Each day was new, strange, filled with discovery. Now, routines blur, days echo each other. Time speeds up because fewer new memories are made. But it's not hopeless. Even now, you can slow time by paying attention, by noticing, by walking a new path, or tasting something unfamiliar, by looking at the sky a little longer than usual. Now breathe in, softly. Feel that. That's the present. Not a point on a line, but a window, a sensation. You cannot see the past. You cannot touch the future, but you can feel the now. And the more you feel it, the more time expands. Some monks spend hours watching a single candle flicker or listening to a bell fade into silence. They are not chasing time. They are sitting beside it, You can too. You are not bound to a digital clock. You are not a machine counting seconds. You are breath. You are pulse. You are rhythm. So tonight, as your thoughts begin to loosen, notice how time feels in your body. The pace of your breath, the hush between heartbeats, the way your limbs feel heavy, then lighter. You are slipping into a different kind of time. The time of sleep, where clocks go quiet, where minutes become dreams, where hours pass like petals falling in slow motion. And even if you don't remember what happens there, your brain does. It restores, it replays, it rewires the clocks. So tomorrow, time will feel different again. Because time is not something outside of you. It is you. Some clocks don't tick. They breathe. They rise and fall, like tides in the dark. They live inside you. Even now, as you lie still, as your body softens against the bed, as your thoughts begin to loosen, your inner clocks are still turning. Tonight we'll explore those quiet, living rhythms. The way your body keeps time, without numbers, without alarms, without anyone watching. This is biological time. Let's begin with the most familiar, your circadian rhythm, a 24-hour cycle woven into nearly every cell of your body. It tells you when to wake, when to sleep, when to eat, when to repair. It is synced to the light of the sun, but it runs on its own, even in darkness. At dawn, your body begins to warm. Hormones shift. Cortisol rises gently. You begin to stir. At midday, your energy peaks. Your digestion quickens. Your heartbeat steadies. As evening nears, melatonin rises. Body temperature falls. And slowly, your body begins preparing for the silence ahead. All of this happens without your permission. It is ancient, built into your genes, a survival tool from before clocks existed. And it's not alone. You have other biological timers too. Some are ultradian rhythms, shorter cycles that repeat throughout the day. Your brain, for example, goes through 90-minute waves of alertness and rest. So even during your busiest hours, you're still pulsing between focus and pause. Then there are infradian rhythms, longer cycles, the menstrual cycle, seasonal mood changes, growth phases, clocks that stretch across weeks or months. And beneath it all, there is aging, the slowest clock, the most certain one. You are aging, even now, but not in a cruel way. Aging is not decay. It is unfolding. Your body doesn't wear out. It evolves. Cells divide. Tissues repair. Bones strengthen, then soften. You are never the same twice. Not from year to year. Not even from moment to moment. Scientists once believed that aging was like rust, inevitable damage building up. But now we know. It's more like music. Genes turning on and off. In carefully timed patterns. Epigenetic markers. Tiny chemical notes. Telling your cells what to do and when to do it. Sometimes they change. Sometimes they drift. And when they drift too far, the music becomes harder to play. That's aging. But even then, your body adapts. It rebalances. It tries again. Because time in the body is not rigid. It's flexible. Soft. You can feel this. When you're sick, time slows. Every hour feels longer. Your body enters repair mode. Heat rises. Energy reroutes. Or when you fall in love. Your heart races. Your appetite shifts. Your rhythms bend to emotion. Even grief changes time. Sleep falters. Hormones fluctuate. Your biology mourns with you. Because the body does not ignore time. It listens to it and responds. Now think about growth. You were once smaller, softer, newer, but not less. Each cell knew what to do, when to divide, when to stop, when to specialize. A perfectly timed orchestra of expansion. Bones lengthened, organs formed, neural networks bloomed. Like fireworks in the dark. That growth slowed with age, but it never stopped. Even now, parts of you are growing. Hair, nails, skin, new cells born. Every second, while others die. Quietly, making room. It is a cycle. Life within life. Change within stillness. This is biological time. It does not follow minutes. It follows need. And perhaps the most magical part of all is sleep. Because sleep is not just rest. It is rhythm. Each night, you cycle through stages. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM. Each stage has a purpose. Some help your body recover. Some help your brain store memory. Some let you dream. And you repeat these stages every 90 minutes, like waves lapping at the shore. Even while unconscious, you are following time. Your heartbeat slows. Your muscles loosen. Your temperature drops. Your cells repair. Sleep is not passive. It is one of the body's most active times. A quiet miracle of regulation. And yet, you don't control it. You can only surrender to it. So tonight, let your clocks do their work. You don't need to measure anything. You don't need to know what time it is. Your body knows. It knows how to breathe, how to mend, how to remember, how to forget. It has been doing this since before you had words, and it will keep doing it long after this moment fades. So as you lie still, imagine the countless rhythms inside you. The tides, the pulses, the songs, all of them moving forward, gently, faithfully. Time is not outside of you. It is within you. carried in your cells, cradled in your bones. And tonight, as your mind begins to drift and the world quiets around you, remember, you are not late. You are not early. You are right on time. Imagine standing in a quiet grove. No movement, no wind, just trees, tall, patient, listening to something you can't quite hear. But they are listening, not with ears, but with rhythm, because trees too keep time, just not in the way we do. Let's drift now into the slow clocks of nature, the kind that tick once per season or once per lifetime, the kind that do not rush. Plants live in a time you can barely see. They do not speak, but they move. They grow. They turn toward the sun, and beneath the soil, they wait. Roots twist slowly through the dark, measuring moisture, heat, light, responding not in seconds, but in days. They don't have brains, but they remember. In 2014, scientists discovered that plants have something like a memory, a way of storing signals, of knowing when to bloom, when to sleep, when to survive. Some flowers only open after a full winter. They count cold days in chemical whispers, then burst into spring, as if on cue. Other plants curl their leaves when touched, but only if they weren't just touched. They remember, briefly, softly. This is called plant chronobiology, the study of how plants tell time. They follow circadian rhythms too. Just like you, they open at dawn, close at dusk. Even in total darkness, they still follow the rhythm. Inside their cells, tiny molecules pulse, rise and fall. A molecular clock, tuned not by will, but by light. And like all clocks, these rhythms shape behavior. Sunflowers turn their heads to follow the sun, not randomly, but with purpose. Young sunflowers face east in the morning and west by evening, every day, until they grow too heavy to turn anymore. It's not fast, but it is real. Time is real for them too. Now let's go deeper into the forest. Old trees, bark like stone, rings thick with history. Each year, a new ring forms, tighter in drought, wider in rains. Some trees hold centuries of weather inside them. They are archives of time. They remember fires, insects, the slow rise of cities, the hush of forgotten winters. But they do not rush. They do not regret. Trees know patience. Some seeds wait decades before sprouting. Pine cones of certain species only open after fire. Their clock waits, not for a day, but for a disaster. Others grow for hundreds of years before they fruit. The bamboo flower blooms only once in 60 years, then dies. That's its clock. A single bloom, per lifetime. Can you imagine living that slowly, feeling time, not in seconds, but in sunrises, not in thoughts, but in seasons? It's hard for us, but maybe it's worth trying, because plant time offers a kind of peace. It says, there's no need to hurry. The sun will come again. The water will find you. What's buried will rise. In time. Now picture a single blade of grass, pushing up through age concrete. No sound, no rush, just quiet insistence. That too is time. That too is the arrow. Not fast, not loud, but steady, faithful, undeniable. And when plants die, they do not disappear. They return to soil, to root, to air. Their energy feeds the next. Entropy, yes, but also renewal. The cycle continues. The green clock resets. Spring follows winter. Always. So tonight, as your body lies still, as your breath slows, let yourself shift into plant time. No deadlines, no hurry, just unfolding. Let your thoughts sprout and drift. Let your limbs stretch like vines toward warmth. You are not behind. You are like a seed. Everything you need is already inside you. And when the moment is right, you will grow. The moon is rising, slowly, quietly, as it always has. A soft coin in the sky, worn smooth by the eyes of every being that ever looked up and wondered. Let's end our journey here with the moon, not because it is final, but because it is steady, because it keeps time. When we forget how, the moon doesn't speak, it doesn't rush, it doesn't glow on its own. It simply reflects, and in that reflection, it pulls, it tugs at oceans, at soil, at the softest parts of us. Twice each day, the sea listens. It rises, then falls, not randomly, but rhythmically. This is tidal time. Ancient, reliable, gentle, long before clocks, long before written words. People watched the tide and knew when to fish, when to plant, when to wait. The moon's gravity whispers to water, and water obeys, not instantly, but faithfully. Even today, when most of us live far from the shore, the tides continue, drawing invisible curves through time. Each high tide is a kind of heartbeat, a mark, a reminder that time is not always counted in seconds. Sometimes it is counted in waves. Now breathe slowly. Let your own breath follow the tide. In and out, like the ocean, like the rhythm of Earth's, as it leans into the pull of its moon. The moon is drifting away, you know, a little farther each year. Not much, just a few centimeters, but enough that one day our tides will change, our days will stretch, Time will slow, and the moon, always watching, will keep count. In the stillness of space, it will remember each ripple, each turn. So tonight, as you close your eyes, you are not drifting alone. You are floating in a tide that holds all things. You do not need to measure anything now. Not minutes, not worries, not how far you've come. The moon is measuring for you, as it always has, as it always will. And wherever you are, whatever moment you're in, this one is enough.